live from Los Angeles. Welcome to Good Morning La La Land. I'm Dr. Aaron.
I'm Rob Mack.
And I'm GMLA. This is Good Morning La La Land, America's first live streaming daily talk show, coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Also available on Apple TV and Roku via the EverTalk app.
That's right. It's hashtag Thought Thursday. We're going to talk about how to become a powerful thought leader, because we come together each day to know the truth, live on spiritual principle, align with universal law, and have some fall weather.
Indeed. It is fall, isn't it?
It's fall.
You can feel
officially.
it. You can feel it. It's in the air.
Mm-hmm.
You can also feel the thought leaders in the room.
Absolutely. We're so excited to welcome our very special guest. Good morning, everyone, back in the studio. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We've got a couch full of very good-looking gentlemen. Mm-hmm. Julius is in the house. He is really redefining 21st century skincare. Good morning, Julius.
Good morning.
Oh, I'm so excited to know all about this really incredible line of skincare later in the show. But first, tell us, what's your morning routine? How do you start your day?
Well, I wake up at 6 o'clock and I start some breathing exercises, meditation. I try to avoid checking emails and WhatsApp. And then I have my green tea. That's basically how I start my day.
That means he starts with emails.
The try was the optimal world
yes,
there, huh?
I just picked up on that yogi, the yogi himself back there.
He probably does the deep breathing as he's going down the inbox,
sure,
right?
Sure, yes.
Yeah, very true.
And then
I'm often not as disciplined as I wish to. Yeah.
That's true for all of us.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. We've got Adam Medler in the house. He is an entrepreneur and a leadership enthusiast. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning. Great to be here. Really excited. I usually don't start my morning here, but this is definitely a pleasure. I'll be honest, I do start my morning checking emails. I wake up, I try to pound through the most important things that I have to get to in the day. I'll eat, and then I'll work out, and then after my workout, I feel ready and inspired, and then my day starts, ready to tackle the
It's funny how we
day, get
used
into
to
the
think-
office and get things going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. We used to think that emails was like a great thing. Now it's like a shame on you for checking your emails.
Totally. We won't shame you, though. We have no judgment
shame.
here. If we're going to
Yeah.
judge,
You've
we
gotta
do
own
it off camera.
I'll at least own it.
We appreciate you keeping it 100 with us this
Yes.
morning, Adam. Thank you. And gearing up for International Coffee Day, we've got the founder of Dragonfly Coffee Roasters in the house. Good morning, Thomas.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for being with us. We're so excited to know all about these specialty coffees. But tell us, how do you start your day? What's your morning routine?
Well, again, thank you for having me. And I wish I could say I was disciplined enough to wake up and do yoga and go straight to the workout and have a very well-centered start to my day. But often, being the founder and CEO of a manufacturing business and especially coffee company, I have to look at emails and put out fires and look at how I can get through that day gracefully as possible. But that all starts with a cup of award-winning specialty coffee.
Love that. And hopefully those are figurative fires there, not literal ones.
That's correct. Now, when roasting coffee, it could be literal.
Exactly. That's exactly the point.
Exactly.
Well, thank you all so much for being with us. We look forward to continuing the conversation with each of you later in the show.
I think we should go into the coffee business.
I know.
We
It's a
all
good
drink
business.
coffee. Every single one of our clients drinks
true.
coffee,
Competitive business. Good business, though.
That's part of my brand. I always say my glass is half full with French roast and then French rosé.
That's right. It's a good day.
that. Oh my
Absolutely.
Eternal optimist, this one, and thriving on coffee.
Indeed. I can't believe it's Thursday already. What's up with that?
Is it?
Right?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't even know what day is what. Up, down, sideways, whatever. I'm like, what am I going to check in about? Like, what I worked again yesterday. It was really exciting.
Well,
I know.
tonight
It's
is
true.
the launch of the Creme Shop. Special shout out to our dear friend Kate Morgan PR. Of course, we'll be there with our guest from yesterday, Olive Kim, celebrating really exciting new LA-based South Korean brand.
She gave us the best swag bag,
I know.
right? I had
It's
everything in
our
there.
love
Kate, we
language.
love Kate Morgan.
Yeah, we do love Kate Morgan.
She always brings guests that have all these great swag bags.
It's
She's
true.
she's such a great, she's amazing, incredible woman.
She is.
Great community, incredible human being she works
And a
with.
boss.
Yep. Right?
Right? Yeah,
Total
totally.
Total boss. We've also got some special coverage coming up this weekend from Catalina Island. We will be there celebrating Groove Island. It's their first land-only event, a total 360-degree experience. There's going to be artists, comedians, magicians. I'm really excited. I'll be getting some special event coverage.
Super cool. It's supposed to be like 4,000 people there, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
And it might even rain.
Oh,
It's
yes.
gonna get wild, and I expect nothing less.
You're testing your resilience right there. Are you willing to
Look
dance in
how
the rain or
beautiful-
not?
Look how beautiful Catalina
I know,
is,
it's just
though.
incredible.
Oh my gosh, I love
Absolutely.
it.
They're
yeah.
actually celebrating 100 years from when Wrigley bought the island.
Wow.
You know Wrigley's Field?
Yes,
Totally.
Big Wrigley gum.
Absolutely. The amount of tradition that is there on that island, it's about an hour off the coast of Southern California. And if you haven't been, my God, it is definitely worth going. And be sure to follow along because our coverage is going to be super fun.
And that building we saw there, that's the casino, right? But it's not a real like casino where you gamble, it's a ballroom, right?
Well, Rob,
Apparently.
I'll be there rolling
Yeah.
the dice. So
All right.
I don't know about
I feel ya.
everybody else, but I mean, in just the amount of people, they have been in business, Wet Travel, for 15 years. They're running some of the best parties internationally. They're one of the fastest growing travel companies as well. So
Wow,
this is the
incredible.
first time they're taking it to land.
Good for them. That's
I like it.
fantastic. Yeah.
I'm tired just thinking about
I
it.
know, it's a grind, man, you know?
But the biggest question, what am I going to wear? So if you
Big
have any
question.
tips on Groove Island Fest wear, please DM me.
I
Layer.
probably have to find something that's EDM like appropriate, right? 'Cause
What's
it's like
EDM
electric
appropriate?
dance music. I have no idea what that
means
is, but probably fun.
You paint your boobs and what are you doing, EDM?
My mother just freaked out and said, Erin, absolutely not. You
You can wear this dress. It's really appropriate.
Actually, I might borrow that. Thanks.
Anyway, I mean, yes, it is definitely fall. There's no question about it. And I just remember back in the day when school would start, and it was a whole new chapter, and we're getting into the new chapter, the Q4, the fourth quarter of the year. So it's a good time to set your new goals, which brings us to the topic of the day, which is how to become a powerful thought leader, which I think is interesting because we haven't, the buzzword and the movement of thought leaders, so maybe it's not around as much with the whole women's empowerment thing. It's kind of
It's
like
interesting.
shift a little bit,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Used to be really, really big with Oprah and all kinds of
Yeah,
stuff.
everybody wanted to be a thought leader.
Yes,
That was the
totally.
thing.
But
you
then
know?
So how would
everybody
you
realized
define
they had a voice on social media, that they were thought leaders.
Totally,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
what's your definition of a thought leader?
I would say that somebody that's on the bleeding edge of some new technology or tool or just theme or topic, and maybe they're an expert in that space or they're a subject matter expert, and they're just sort of leading the charge to spread the awareness around that message.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
not just speaking loudly and often and consistent, but they're really saying something new that's disruptive, a different way of thinking that isn't being shared.
That's right.
Gary Vee, I think, does that brilliantly.
For
He does
sure.
do it well, yeah,
He's
yeah.
definitely a thought leader.
Yeah, he
He's
is.
a preacher, and isn't he?
Yes, he is.
He's a modern preacher for sure.
Totally.
The definition is basically someone whose views on a subject, impact and is authoritative. So, it can be just a research person, or it can bring something new in, whatever it is. And I think that there can be good thought leaders and bad thought leaders.
Yeah.
I mean, there's people that aren't necessarily preaching truth that have a big influence on the world. So it depends on whatever that is. But to become a thought leader, because like so many people want to, there's so many different articles on it, whatever. I personally think that you got to get your mind right. You got to
Yeah.
reclaim your power, because in order to believe you're going to be able to be powerful. And
Well,
influence
totally. I mean, I think the biggest thing about being a thought leader is that you've got to tap into some creative thought, right?
Right.
And so that's why, and I joke, but I love the idea of a thought leader, but I love even more the idea of a no thought leader. Someone that doesn't have to
I
think.
think you should
and
brand
script,
that.
right? I should.
A no thought leader.
I'm patenting that, so don't get it. I gotta get my assistant on that right away, right?
Seriously,
No
Rob.
thought leader.
Because
Yeah.
there's new thought leaders, there's thought leaders,
Yes.
and there's no thought leader.
No thought leader.
I
Yeah.
like that. You can
just practice in the
just
presence.
be with each other.
That's exactly right.
Rob, we just solved your branding.
I know, exactly.
Coach Rob Mack, the no thought
That's why I
leader.
love hanging out with you guys. You bring out the best of me.
So 4 steps to becoming a thought leader. One is getting your mind right, whether it be no thought or whatever thought, or just
Yeah.
know the power that you are. Number 2 is position yourself as an expert. So how do you do that? And that's what we're going to ask some of our guests today. We're going to talk about like how do you, get the media, how do you get on magazines, how do you do all these things that we've been a part of this for a while, and people out there are like, how do I become an expert? You got to speak, you got to publish things, you got to get in media, you got to be positioned as that expert. Thirdly is you got to solve a problem, and whether it be getting glammed, helping people get glammed up and solving the problem of not wanting that or whatever that, or is changing the whole world. And then lastly is being consistent.
The
Right?
consistency can be tough, right?
Consistency, yes.
The consistency. I think there's a temptation in the beginning of starting any project or any business or anything in the world. You want to focus on the intensity. You're like, oh, I'm going to just sprint the whole way. But later you realize that it's the consistency, even if it's little tiny steps, that matters more than
I used
intensity.
to be awful with
Yeah.
consistency. I was like up, down, not finishing projects. Now I'm probably like the most consistent person in my life. So it's possible. If I can do it, you can do it. That's
It
for
is,
sure.
it is. And of course, we'll talk to our extraordinary guest
Yeah.
about how to be consistent, but also how to spread awareness. But I think one of the things that I've discovered in my life is that it's very difficult to be an expert on something in a real way unless you're deeply convicted around it and full of
for
deep
sure.
emotion around it, right? And usually that comes from whatever you've been most challenged by in your life,
for
right?
sure.
Like, I think those are the greatest experts, people that have lived it.
Yeah. for
You know,
sure.
maybe what they haven't even been the most challenged by, but where they found their greatest purpose, where their purpose met their passion, and they really were in their zone of genius.
What is that for you, do you think, Jess?
This, absolutely,
Yes.
hands down.
For sure, you're a new thought leader because you're in the expert in reporting Hollywood guests, all their stories. Like you're definitely a thought leader, no question about it.
And a storyteller.
And you're going to be publishing soon and having your own brand soon. So that is like that's
Prod.
Working on it. Just like our
Eric
daughter.
cracking that whip.
Just like our daughter that we're like, come on, you do it. You deserve this.
She's so magnificent, Jazz, you are.
The book is started and the project launches
Wow.
soon.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Raise a glass.
Well, let's talk to our guests and find out about all their position as experts. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Where can you watch the stories of people changing the world? EverTalk TV, the Netflix of talk. I'm GMLA, the co-founder and host of EverTalk TV, and I am thrilled to introduce you to America's first live video streaming talk show network.
I'm so excited to be here on the couch with all you amazing people.
Yeah.
I'm just in complete awe. Thank you.
Happy to be here. And for those who don't know what goes on, this is a big old, there's a lot going on here.
a lot
You do
going
this
on
every
here.
day.
Live.
God
live
bless you
TV.
guys. I mean, people, there's a lot going on.
Thank you for having me. This is an awesome studio.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Oh, you
I feel that, actually. I can feel that.
How exciting Motivation Monday. And the guests this morning have been incredible.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you.
And we have Rachel Boston, who is in The Last Bridesmaid on Hallmark. It actually is dropping tomorrow, the 22nd, right?
It is. Tomorrow night's our premiere.
Woo! How exciting.
Congratulations! I am so excited to welcome Jason and Ashley Waller to the show. Congratulations on the new beginnings. We're so excited for the premiere on MTV tonight.
Thank you guys.
Congratulations,
We
you guys.
appreciate it. Thank you.
The book is actually being shipped out today. It published this week.
What?
I know.
Congratulations.
You guys are
Super
the
cool.
first show that I've actually done talking about the book.
I think this is my first time my book's been up on TV. This is awesome.
Our friends at Universal Pictures have a special delivery for us this morning from a tethered himself.
Ooh.
Have you seen the film Us by Academy Award
my
winner
gosh.
Jordan Peele?
You know, I'm sitting here next to you guys, and just like, this is a powerful moment for me. Like, you know, I'm humbled by it because it's like I'm sharing this movie with you guys, and you know, it's moving for me.
What are you most grateful for today?
I am so grateful to be here and to have the opportunity to be with all these wonderful, badass boss babes and with all of you. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to share the positive messages out in the world because I think the world really needs it right now.
What we've done and thanking me for the contribution we're making to their lives.
Oh,
and I thought,
nice. That's
this
great.
is what my purpose is. This is why I was born. Now,
Show the camera.
up to you to choose the winner. Is it Annie? Is it Haley?
That's why I like this show. You know, years ago I did the Dinah Show, which is Dinah Shore, and it was a daytime show. And it was kind of like this. It was just like very up, and it was all positive stuff. They didn't bring negative stuff to the audience. And that's why I feel with this show. It's very relaxed. You know, it's very professional, but it's quite a bit of fun.
You can binge watch and binge watch.
You can binge watch.
And you can binge watch. Binge watch, or you can binge watch. Please binge watch. You can binge watch and binge them on EverTalk TV. Thanks for coming. Bye.
First TV experience. I'm so happy I did it with you.
Entertainment that will inspire, uplift, and empower you. Anytime, anywhere on EverTalk TV, your home for talk.
Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning La La. On Thought Thursday, it's so important to get your mind right in the morning, and nothing better than a good cup of coffee to make that happen. So we have Dragonfly Coffee in the house. Thomas Christman.
Yes, yeah.
And you pronounce your first name because there's like a few different ways that you pronounce it. I just want to make sure.
So it's Tamas, but it's Hungarian for Tomas. So
there you go.
There you
beautiful, beautiful name.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about how you got into the coffee industry.
That is an awesome question. So, I've actually been roasting coffee since I was 8 years old. And you would think, how am I roasting coffee when I'm 8? Well, my parents run a wildlife sanctuary in southern Colorado called Mission Wolf. And that's entirely run off of volunteers. And one of the volunteers, when I was 8 years old, came down to Mission Wolf. He had a coffee cart in Boulder, and he would bring green unroasted coffee from Kona in Hawaii, and we'd roast it in a cast iron pan over the stove. So from there, I sort of developed this love and passion around coffee.
At 8 years old.
At 8
That is
years
incredible.
old. And then, from there it blossomed and built, but that's where my initial love and passion started.
Like the Tiger Woods of coffee, man.
That's right, man.
Oh,
That's
like
right.
four.
So I got to start early, right? So, and that's where I developed my flavor, my palate, and all of that early on. And then, thought I needed to have a real job, so I studied chemical engineering. Had no passion there. And again, you'll hear passion a lot in this conversation. And so I founded Dragonfly Coffee.
Wow, wow. And now you are Micro Roaster of the Year, according to Roast Magazine. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's an amazing honor.
Tell us a little bit about the different coffees that you roast.
That's a great question. So being 2019 Micro Roast of the Year by Roast Magazine has really emphasized our commitment to sustainability and the farms that we source our coffee from. So I source coffee from 30 different countries and 60 different farms directly that we've built relationships with. So our whole goal is sustainability across the supply chain. Coffee is very undervalued in our American culture. In other cultures, it's higher valued, but it's traded as a commodity. And that commodity is being traded at about $1 a pound. Now, to produce coffee at the farm, it's going to cost $2 to $3 a pound. So we're really trying to transcend and allow and create sustainability throughout the whole supply chain. So these coffees that I brought in today represent farms from all over the world.
Oh, wow. I love it. It even says, coffee elevated, a story in every cup.
That's correct.
And I love the dragonfly. So, spiritually, dragonfly represents a lot of our ancestors and things like that. What does dragonfly represent for you?
So there are many different cultures that hold the dragonfly in high regard, and for us, it's multifaceted. Dragonfly represents the ability to change, the ability to be agile in various different markets, but then also it's nature's most advanced flyer. It can hover, it can fly in the diagonal, it can fly backwards. So again, being resilient and then prosper with the ability to be nimble. If that makes sense, yeah.
Did your little hiatus there in the chemical engineering path, did that inform what you do now at all?
Yeah, so I've always been aligned with chemistry. I love chemistry, I love science, and that is applied into my coffee roasting and the techniques. And what really sets us apart, a lot of our coffees, not only have we been named the 2019 Micro Roaster of the Year, many of our coffees on Coffee Review, the world's leading consumer buying guide, have given us 95-point ratings, 97-point ratings, taking Coffee of the Year, and that's all through chemical engineering and my process design of how we roast our coffees. So there's...
Let's get down to it. Okay,
Yeah.
The old days of, I won't name certain corporations, but we become coffee snobs.
Yes.
Once we've had a great cup of coffee,
Definitely.
it's like you can't go back. It's one of those things. So where do you see people, because now it's $7 for a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
What it was 25 cents in 1950 probably.
Right.
We're talking major increase. Where do you see the genre of coffee going?
That's a fabulous question. So consumers are used to paying higher prices for coffee, and I think that's a great thing for the farmers that they're coming from because we see such a huge disparity in pricing. I would like to see specialty coffee more and more accepted in a wider and deeper demographic across the U.S. So, allowing somebody to take a cup of coffee and brew it without any cream or sugar and realizing there's a lot of natural sweetness, a really delicate acidity, a beautiful sort of textural body.
It's all about the whatever I'm putting in with the coffee.
Right. but when you have a cup of coffee that you realize, wow, I don't even need to put cream or sugar in it, that aha moment takes you to a different place, and then you start to dig deeper and want to learn about that story in that cup.
Interesting. For sure.
I love the community around the coffee culture, whether it's in Europe or America. If you could have a cup of coffee with anyone, who would it be?
That's an amazing question. Probably one of our farming partners in Rwanda, because often our farming partners just export and they're living on the edge of poverty. So to have them, be able to taste what they're producing and realize how that could impact and be like, wow, that I don't really like the taste, or I like the taste, but then they sort of see a sense of value in it. I think our farming partners, it's valuable for them. So that's what I would say.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's all about the environment too, don't you think? Like when you go to a coffee place, like it's so important.
Definitely.
I mean, I go buy coffee where I want to go hang out and work or do whatever it is that you're going to do. So what's your place like there?
Our coffee, our place in Boulder is primarily roasting, right? So all of our coffees are available through our online store at dragonfly.coffee. So we don't have a retail space in Boulder, but we are going to be launching a retail space here in Southern California.
There you go. How perfect
And
is
you're
that?
doing a really rad pop-up event.
We are.
This weekend.
This
Tell us
Sunday,
about it.
we're going to be doing a pop-up event at Terrera Cafe.
Which is super Instagrammable, by the way.
So I'll be there from 10 to 3, and then our coffees are going to be being served all day long. Our award-winning espresso and some of our Ethiopian coffee.
Wow, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Check that out.
Well, it's my drug of choice for sure. You have my vote.
Well, and not only is it a drug of choice, but it's actually very good for you. It's the
I fully believe that.
highest source of American antioxidants in our diet. So
wow.
Per 8-ounce serving, there's about 500 milligrams of bioavailable
No wonder it
antioxidants.
looks so
That
good.
is incredible.
Yeah, more than 3 servings of blueberries.
Wow.
Amazing.
Guilt-free.
So tell people where they can get your coffee.
Yeah, so our coffee is available online at our website, dragonflycoffeeroasters.com, or just dragonfly.coffee. And if you order it online through this, use coupon code COFFEEDAY, and you'll get 10% off.
All right.
Fantastic.
I'll drink to that.
Yes,
Thank you so much.
thank you, guys.
We'll
Yeah,
back
it was
more at
wonderful to
Good
be
Morning
here.
Lalaland. Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning La La Land. And hashtag Thought Thursday, we have got a leadership expert in the house and an entrepreneur, Adam Medler. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me. Excited
Right.
to be here.
So we want to know, I have some serious questions for you. Because you contribute to Thrive and Forbes and all kinds of things. And one of the things of becoming a thought leader is positioning yourself as an expert. And there's no greater way than doing this through platforms like this. So tell us a little bit about what you do and how people can get on those platforms.
Yeah, so the first thing that I would recommend to everyone, and I just want to echo what you said in the introduction of the show, which is have a perspective, have a voice, be original, create content that is thoughtful, create content that is valuable. Really think about what other people will find of interest and what will help other people. So a couple things to keep in mind. Firstly, it's great to speak, it's great to write, it's great to go out there and have your voice heard, but ultimately it's not really about you, it's about other people, and it's not about what you say and how you say it, it's about how people are receiving it and how people are listening to your message. So you want to make sure that the content that you're expressing is content that's going to be valuable. So, for example, as much as I would love to spend this morning talking about baseball, I was sitting in the back room over there. I was reading about what's going to happen in the offseason with the Angels. That's not why I'm here this morning. I'm here to talk about thought leadership. Similarly, when you're giving advice, make sure that you're giving advice that is actually going to help people. When you do, people are going to listen to you. You're going to build a following. People are going to start demanding more of your content. So in my case, I just started writing as a way to gain exposure for my businesses. I thought it would be a really good opportunity. I'm an entrepreneur. I run a few different e-commerce businesses, and I just kind of accidentally stumbled into it. But then as I started doing it, I discovered a passion for it. And I really loved doing it. And as I got more and more into it, I reached out to Thrive Global. They were very receptive. And next thing you know, it's something that I spend a good amount of my time and energy focused on.
That's
So
fantastic.
tell us about that. What are you doing with Thrive? You've got a little project going on, right?
Yeah, so I have an interview series in Thrive Global where I interview leading CEOs, founders, celebrities, athletes. I've interviewed a number of current and former generals and admirals about leadership, about success, about how they've gotten to the top and how others can as well. I've done interviews with over 300 of America's top leaders. And really my goal is to build the next generation of leaders and to help people become better leaders and to help people who are affected and impacted by leadership become better at what they do and happier and more effective in their
How
lives.
have these interviews made you better at what you do? What have you learned from them?
I've learned so much. So, I mean, one thing I've learned is just how applicable good leadership is no matter what field you're in. So, for example, a number of the interviews that I've done with current and former generals, the advice they give, the leadership that they talk about, what's been effective for them is just as applicable in their careers as military leaders as it is in my career.
Like what?
As a CEO of a startup. I'll give you two concrete examples. I recently did an interview, was published this past week, with a retired admiral who is now currently working in the field of management consulting. And one of the things he said in the interview is he can count on one hand the number of times in his 30-year military career that someone has said to him, "This is an order." And that's very counterintuitive because when you think about the military, I've never served in the military, but when those of us who haven't served in the military think about military leadership, you know, we've watched A Few Good Men and we've watched a lot of movies and we watch television, consume media. We think about a very structured and bureaucratic system where leaders tell people what to do and say, you know, this is an order, do this.
Yeah, it's very command and control.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Type.
Another example, I did an interview with a former 3-star Air Force general who told me that he, in his career, he never raised his voice. And that was not how he led. He didn't believe in yelling at people or, you know, screaming at people. And so as a leader, I don't tell people this is an order. I don't raise my voice. I believe that for leaders to be effective today, they need to follow a very different style of leadership than the style of leadership that was effective in previous generations. We need to empower people. We need to inspire people. We need to get people to really believe in what they're doing. They need to love their work. They need to be passionate about their work. They need to really feel like the mission that they're on is a mission that is of meaning to them and is of greater purpose. And if they don't have that, then they're not going to want to show up and they're not going to want to run through walls for you.
Yeah, I love that. I had a management consulting job right out of school, and you're speaking to like the self-awareness and emotional intelligence piece of it that goes unrecognized. Remember, my first senior manager literally said to me, like maybe the third day of work, "Hey Rob, you know, are you interested in putting together like this 300-slide PowerPoint presentation?" And in my head, I'm like, no, of course I'm not interested. And then later I realized, no, that was an order, but it was said in a very sort of compassionate, sensitive way.
Yeah.
And so it speaks to this admiral's point,
Yeah.
which is that, you know, you don't have to tell people exactly what to do, but you do have to understand that there's sometimes more nuance happening in the conversation they might recognize.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true.
To your point, I think about the great movie Office Space.
Yeah.
You know, the TPS reports.
Yeah,
what
totally.
What your order reminds me of. And, you know, I always, when I have people who work for me and I think of really menial projects that I have to give them, the last thing I want to do is position it in a way that they feel like they're stuck doing menial work. So I'll really try to explain to them why what they're doing is important, why this really isn't menial work. Because at the end of the day, if someone is doing something and they understand the greater purpose and they understand how this plays within the bigger picture, they're going to be a lot more inspired and they're going to be happier. And your story is a great example of that.
That's fantastic. And that's especially increasingly important with millennials. They really want to understand the context around it in the meeting. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I being asked to do this? So I love that you point that out.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
So I think you may have answered this already, but I'm going to answer for somebody out there that is just beginning and they're stepping into becoming an expert in a field, and they're like, I want to get on, Forbes, or I want to get on Thrive. How do I do that? What would you tell them?
Yeah, what I would tell them is a couple of things. Firstly, make yourself someone that people are going to want to listen to. So, in order for you to be in a position where publications are going to want to have you write for them, and in order for you to be in a position where, a broader audience is going to want to hear from you, make sure that you have a valuable message that is going to draw people in. That's first and foremost. Secondly, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to cultivate new relationships from thin air. None of us wake up knowing everyone. Every day is an exercise in building new relationships and building new friendships. Before the show started, I knew one of the three hosts today. Now I know all three of you, and I'm excited about that. And hopefully every single day, every person who's listening to this segment can make it an exercise and make it a habit to build their network and build new relationships. And who knows, maybe someone can connect you to your next, whether it's a position, writing an outlet, or
wink,
your next
wink. But no, I do think that there's things you can buy out there in the world, and just if it's no surprise out there in the media, you can buy things to get on different platforms and different things. But I completely agree with you. I think that the more authentically we do it, the more you just stay in your lane of your expertise and actually care about making a difference in people's lives, it happens regardless. I was written up in Forbes, and it was from a dear friend who was witnessing my work for a long time. But I know people buy things as well. And I think, well, that's cool, but it's still not about that. It's still about impacting people. So when you, obviously, if you're finding someone big, like a big leader that's, a big lieutenant in charge of something, how do you seek them out? I mean, is it just you're getting the big names, or is there something specifically that you're looking for? Their numbers in their followers? Are you looking for, how do you know that they are having that influence?
It's a great question. I have a few different tests that I follow, and they're not hard and fast tests, but the main test really is very much along the lines of what I spoke about earlier, which is, do I think people will be interested in their message? Do I think this is someone who audiences will be interested in hearing from? So do they run a company that a broader audience would find interesting? Has my mom heard of their company? Has my sister heard of their company? Has my buddy heard of their company? Have they served in a position of significant leadership where they have a perspective that a broad audience would find interesting? Do they have significant influence and impact over a large number of people? Those are the kinds of things that I think about.
Fantastic. Have you ever discovered, you've interviewed 300 to 400 subject matter experts, thought leaders. Have you ever discovered that sometimes they give contradictory advice, or one person gives, X and the next person gives Y, and you're like, how do I make sense of this?
Yeah, it's a great question, and there always is contradictory advice, but themes emerge. And there are, as much as out of 350 different opinions and different perspectives, you can find areas of friction. There are absolute themes that emerge that you see patterns, and it's like anything else. There are consistencies in the opinions that are expressed, especially when you're talking to people who have been there and done that and have been so successful in what they've done.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to look forward to Thrive, watching your series on there, and then also I'm sure there'll be a book coming out at some point in time over all the interviews that you do.
The book is in the works. Launch date to be determined. Stay tuned.
Awesome.
There you go. Thank you so much for all your work.
Tell everyone
Thank
where
you.
they can find and follow you.
Very easy, just my name, Adam Mendler. So you can go to www.adammendler.com, it's my website, or you can follow me on social at Adam Mendler. Instagram, Adam Mendler, Twitter, Adam Mendler. Try to make it easy for people.
That's good.
Easy theme.
Yep. Thank you so much. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
We'll be right back.
can you watch the stories of people changing the world? EverTalk TV, the Netflix of talk. I'm GMLA, the co-founder and host of EverTalk TV, and I am thrilled to introduce you to America's first live video streaming talk show network.
We all crave connection.
I'm a big fan of videoing a podcast.
The impact that I'm having people on a podcast is I'm having more impact on those people than I ever did in news.
We want to be heard, but we also need to listen.
Podcasts. I understand they're red hot.
It's actually remarkable how scary to me podcasting is. Everybody should have a podcast.
I really wondered why. I mean, we've been doing this for 12 years. Nobody has done this in other arenas.
We have to change the conversation to happiness over financial success. It was like, we have to. We have to.
Honestly, it was meeting new people who had already heard about what we have done and thanking me for the contribution we're making to their lives.
Oh, nice. That's
this
great.
is what my purpose is. This is why I was born.
Yeah.
I think this is my first time my book's been up on TV. This is awesome.
You can binge watch and binge watch.
You can binge watch.
And you can binge watch, or you can binge watch. Please binge watch. You can binge watch and binge them on EverTalk TV. Thanks for coming. Bye.
Entertainment that will inspire, uplift, and empower you. Anytime, anywhere on EverTalk TV, your home for talk. Live from Los Angeles, welcome back to Good Morning La La Land. This thought leader is actually redefining skincare in the 21st century by combining ancient wisdom with this modern day approach. Julius Ehrberger's in the house. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about this product.
Well, I started 17 years ago, and it's really transformative skincare. We were, sustainable from the very beginning. We have own gardens in northern Italy, so the quality of the product is like unreached. And I started with 2 products. Now we have 27 products. We sell in 15 countries. We are still a small company, but it's really about alchemy in the product. We have the gold for the day. It's like associated with the sun, silver in the night, with the moon energies. So it works with your natural biorhythm in your body. And in the night, our organs detox and regenerate. And the day needs protection, and it energizes. So all the flowers we use are to that goal.
So I don't know, I just know that whenever you came in the studio and you sat down here, you could say anything and I would buy it. You have this energy and this presence, and then you've got these incredible, you've got this jade and this tiger eyes. I don't know if you can see it from the camera, but your presence is like you are a full-on yogi Buddha selling me face stuff, and I'm like, I'll take 100. So have you always been like that? I mean, Italy will do this to you, man.
You know what? It's like, you do what we are calling, really. And also every day when I wake up, it's such a joy, to do the work I do and transform people's skin and see the results. And it's really my life purpose. I don't even say it's work. It's really, it's a calling.
It's play that pays.
Yes.
Yeah. Why skincare? What initially encouraged you to do skincare?
Well, I did fashion at the beginning, but I kind of feel like more attracted to the inside than the outside. The outside as a result is fine, but if we start from the other side, it won't lead to a lasting result. So skincare, what is more personal to you? And 17 years ago, there was nothing really clean and powerful on the market. All the organic brands out there, were heavy and oily and greasy, and we have the lightest modern textures. So everything is absorbed. It's more like cell nutrition. So and one thing led to the other.
So this is the nighttime. Is that because it's silver? Is
Absolutely.
that right?
And these are our travel kits and starter kits.
Yeah. And then tell us a little bit about what's all here.
The fragrances is our latest project because, you know, most of the fragrances are very toxic, containing isopropyl alcohol, which is a liver toxin. And we use organic grain alcohol. And we have 2 fragrances, of course, day and night. And the day is like a total antidepressant. It has 4 different bergamots from different areas.
Spray me.
And you have to really put it on your pulse point.
Wow.
And it uplifts you, makes you feel good. And it's really designed for people who are either allergic or like offended by these synthetic fragrances.
It smells amazing.
It's amazing. You know, there's a huge difference between European standards for fragrance and skincare and American.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a really big difference. In the European Union, we have like 2,450 substances that are not allowed to be used. In the United States, it's 400, a little less than 400. So it's really, we protect the customers, the consumers. In the United States, it's always the entrepreneurs who are really protected.
Love that.
So, you know, I love that your focus is on conscious business.
Yeah.
And where did you learn business and where did you learn to become an entrepreneur? How did you learn that?
Yes, it's a really good question.
The
I, of
school
course,
of
I had
hard knocks.
Yes.
The great
I
one.
had some,
That's right.
you know, influences in the family, but really, you know, it's like an accumulation of your experience doing business day by day.
Yeah.
And I had setbacks, you know. At the time, nobody really understood what we are doing. So, but you have to be persistent. You have to go your way. You know, you have something very special. And, you know, I always believe quality ultimately leads to success.
Was that the greatest challenge, then, just getting the awareness out and sort of explaining to people what you were doing and why you were doing it that way?
Well, you know, it's always the education is till today. You have to, there's so much misinformation in the media and everywhere. A lot of bloggers, you know, they use like 25 products, they have the worst skin and like promoting like...
Whatever pays.
Whatever pays,
Yeah.
yeah. And I always, you know, Google your ingredients, make sure it's clean what you put on your skin, because everything goes in your body. And
Well, clearly you have a very powerful energy and intention behind your product. Can you speak to that a little bit too? Aaron mentioned earlier the tiger's eye and the jade.
So beautiful.
yeah, well, you know, I do yoga since many years, Kundalini yoga, and GMLA we have like we have like the Satnam. We have like the most amazing teachers, and it's such a blessing to be here. And I feel like this is like a vital. You have to do something nowadays, you know. You cannot sit back and like, you have to be active and engage in a spiritual form. After all, you know, we are spiritual beings having a human experience and not the other way around. So, yeah, it's just, go with the flow. And,
That's
you
where I've
know,
seen you. Is it Taja's class? Is that where? I knew you looked familiar. Of course. My soul
Oh my
brother.
God,
This
that
is
is so
amazing
funny.
work. I'm so proud of you, and it's so important. And I'm looking forward to trying it. And
Yeah,
thank you for
please.
bringing the
It smells amazing.
different
It really does.
perfumes in. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. So how can they get involved? How can they get their...
well, it's
New perfume.
julisses.com and Julisses Skincare on Instagram.
Fantastic. So
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
We appreciate you.
Thank
Good
you,
morning,
guys.
La La Land, America's first live
Thank
streaming
you.
station. Top Chef coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. All today's interviews are available as a podcast on iTunes, and the whole show is streaming on EverTalk TV on Apple TV and Roku.
That's right. We are waking up the world together. We want to give a big shout out to Tej. We love you. Have a divine day again. May you know the truth of who you are and be your own thought leader.
It's going to be a good morning, La La Land.